So Coach Carmen here from the Happy Balanced Life. Welcome back for those of you who have been on the channel before. And if you're new, we're happy to have you. Today, I'm here and honored to have my special guest, Mayra, who is the nutrition dork. And she is also the CEO of a company called the Healthy Rican. And Mayra is certified at IIN, the same school that I graduated from. And she is obsessed with superfoods. And she is called the nutrition dork because self-proclaimed nutrition dork because she loves to investigate different things that have to do with health. And she really is the face behind the brand, the Healthy Rican, which brings us some tasty but healthy versions of Latin spices that we love. So if you're Latino, you know that we use certain spices to cook. She has mastered this art by providing us some sazon, some adobo, some dried sofrito, as well as collaborated with other folks to bring us some different types of seasonings that we might enjoy. She's also the author of a cookbook, which I have purchased. And she is also collaborating with Whole30, which is one of the things that I talk about on my channel sometimes because I've done their challenges a few times. But Mayra's on some brand new adventures. So you've seen her on my channel before, but we have a little bit of a different conversation today. Welcome, welcome, Mayra. So tell me a little bit about yourself. I know you, but tell our listeners a little bit about your background and what inspired you to become a health coach.
Well, first of all, thank you for having me here again in your space. I am super honored. Yeah, so my name is Mayra. You know, I grew up in Puerto Rico. I was born in New Jersey and spent a couple of years there of my childhood. And then I moved to Puerto Rico where I spent, most of my adulthood. I was always interested in home remedies growing up. I remember my mom having these books and I would always just read them out of boredom. In the 90s, you didn't have much to do. So I remember just, being very interested, seeing her too, and my grandma always like making these concoctions, whenever you would get sick. And I think that was my first kind of taste of like this kind of, more a holistic approach to health and wellness. In my 20s, I actually started getting a lot of hormonal issues. I was diagnosed with Hashimoto's, mostly due to pregnancy. I was also kind of like almost pre-diabetic at that time of my pregnancy. So it just really altered all my hormones. And that was really like what led me on this path of looking and seeking for healthier alternatives, nutrition, fitness, all the things, because I couldn't find it within doctors. They just kept looking at me like I was crazy. Like I was early 20s, and for you to come in with joint pain and all these different things, they were like so confused. So that's kind of like how I got into this world.
Wow, so your parents, grandparents, with the home remedies, right? It's so funny when we're young, we don't realize how important those are. And then, so we start using all the stuff on the shelf, and then we go right back to where we started. When you learn, you know better, you do better, right? And I know because you've talked to me before about your autoimmune diseases and how you've had to overcome some of that. But what a reason to go onto your own health journey, right? And have to dig in to what is it that is making me sick, because going to the regular Western medicine isn't going to help me out, right? So coming up with your own solutions, doing a lot of homework, and that is what made you a dork, a nutrition dork.
It really did. Like I used to, like back when magazines were a thing, like I used to be like a subscribe to some of the magazines and everything. I forgot some of the names of them, but they used to be very popular.
Sure. So Mayra, we both went to the same school, Institute of Integrated Nutrition, for different reasons, right? But I would love to talk a little bit about what health coaches do. And the reason is because I know that when I'm at speaking engagements and I say I'm a wellness coach, immediately people picture someone who's going to give them a meal plan or that's going to give them like an exercise routine. And that's not what we do, right? So talk to me first about what you do as a health coach, and I'll discuss a little bit about my piece as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, being a health coach, yeah, like you said, a lot of people assume that you're gonna put them on a diet or that you're trying to lose weight. That's like immediately the thought. Like nobody can think of anything else. And health is so much more than that. Like health and wellness in general, which is what health coaches focus on, goes deeper than just what we eat and how we look. So, and like you said, there's definitely many different paths. Like for me, my first experience, even with health coaching, was having that accountability and support. Like in a way, I knew what I needed to do, but unless you have somebody there to hear you out and hear where you're struggling, where your challenges are, right? Sometimes when you're speaking, we can, oh, you just said this, and we kind of like connect the dots where it can be a little a little all over the place for some people. And that's been my experience. And, with that too, like you can go in so many different avenues, right? Like for some of my first experiences were more in the fitness world. Like I was a Zumba instructor and I was just kind of like in
Oh,
that path and I loved
I
it,
love it.
yeah. So, and it just keeps evolving and changing as we grow and change. So yeah, it can definitely be many different things. And
Mm-hmm.
what I love about it is because as health coaches, we are trained that it's all bio individual, right? So we're all very different people. And I think with that, all the health coaches kind of just went in their own way based on their bio individuality, right? Like some are like super focused on autoimmune, right? Some might be focusing on weight loss. Some go through the route of diabetes and or fitness. So yeah, the possibilities are definitely endless.
Yeah, and I think I've been a coach about 6 years. I'm not really sure when you graduated, Myra, but what I recognize is that there's a lot of different niches that people take, right? So for me, I've been really focusing on helping women sort of identify what's sabotaging their health, and that could be anything. It could be career, it could be finances, spirituality. More recently, very focused on stress and sleep because of what people are going through these days, and toxins, by the way, like the toxins in our environment, in our personal care products, and the things that we use to clean our home, in the air, in our food. So that's critical to our health as well, but people don't really associate those things very often. So
Mm-hmm.
as a health coach, you took a little bit of a different approach than normal coaching. You started this new adventure, right? By, like you said, like, hey, the spices that I needed to cook aren't healthy, that are out there on the store shelf. I'm going to create my own, which is fantastic. And you also wrote a recipe book. You have some great collaborations. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Mm-hmm.
Because I think that that's another avenue that health coaches take sometimes. Writing books, and sharing their stories, or building products. Like I met this woman who is a health coach and makes female products, if you will. And I recently have met a few people that are health coaches that are very focused on skin and eczema. So I think there's so many avenues, but I'd love to talk a little bit of you to talk a little bit about your path.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, 100%. So, I think for my path was, I mean, I am Puerto Rican and, when I first started, I was kind of focusing on the whole picture, right? Like the whole broad health and wellness, right? Like nutrition and, exercise and fitness and, spirituality too. And how can we incorporate that? And, I feel like it was very broad. I didn't really choose a niche. But I guess, like I said, being Puerto Rican and making my foods in a healthier way, including the seasonings, and
Mhm.
I started just sharing that, very like not even planning it out. It wasn't like, oh, I'm gonna do this and this is gonna be my niche. No, it was more like, oh, I made this arroz con gandules and I use this and that, or I made dessert. Sometimes, I would make low sugar flan and things like that. And
Mm.
people were really interested. Like they're like, oh, you made flan healthy? Like, how do you do that? I'm like,
Yeah,
well,
the
it's not
alternatives, right?
right. And I would always say it's not the same, people. It's just not the same. If you want traditional, go for traditional in
Yeah.
moderation. But, like I don't know. There's also alternatives and they taste good. So anyway, I started sharing that and people were definitely interested. I wrote my first cookbook as an ebook and it was just a PDF, and I put it together myself and people, like I said, wanted it. I sold that, like I said, as is with through PayPal and that was it. But the more I continued to share my Puerto Rican heritage, the more people just came in flocks.
Yeah.
And I
That's
was
how you
like,
know there was a need.
yeah, and exactly. And I realized I'm like, oh wow, there really is a need. And then I started sharing about my other one sazon, and like that was when are you selling it? And when, how, where were all the questions? And I'm like, whoa, I'm not selling it, but maybe I should. And that's kind of like how that journey started. And I think the key there was embracing my roots, embracing who I really am, which I wasn't
Mm.
before, because again, I was all over the place. I wasn't really choosing a niche. I was just sharing all the things that I love. And it was too much. It was too much for people.
I think that's a great story because I think as health coaches, like when you're in school, they tell you pick a niche, pick a niche. The reason is because it's easier for marketing, right? But I think because we learn so much, we just want to share and help everybody at the same time. It just becomes like we're evangelizing. Anything that you talk about that's health, we're all over
Girl.
it, right? So I think it's interesting. Mayra, that's what a great story. I'm glad you were able to figure out your niche, but you're doing something that you love and you're helping your community, which is fantastic.
Right.
So
Yeah.
yeah, so one thing that I wanted to touch base on was last year you had an experience, a negative experience, I'll say. You and I connected after it. As you grow your business, as we grow our businesses, sometimes we come across obstacles and challenges. What is something that you have had to deal with or have overcome here?
Hmm. Yeah, I feel like I've had to overcome a lot. But I think the biggest is negative judgment
Mm-hmm.
by family, right? By friends, by all the people. And then you go on social media and people are like, they have no mercy
Yeah,
because
they're
they're
brutal.
they're brutal. They're behind a screen. They don't really know you personally. So I can say whatever I want without caring for you or whatever, right? With no
Mm.
remorse. And that's something that I've definitely slowly have been able to overcome. It definitely took me out for a while where I just didn't even want to post anymore,
Mm.
because people, like I said, were brutal. They were questioning why I was doing what I was doing. They were questioning my authenticity. They were questioning if whether or not I was even Puerto Rican. They were questioning my weight and how I looked. They were questioning some of the recipes, like why are you butchering a classic like mofongo by boiling the plantains?
Mm.
And I'm like, listen, if you want to learn how to make authentic mofongo, you're in the wrong place.
Right.
If you want the flavor of mofongo, but not having to have all the greasy, right? Like all the frying, I give people alternatives. I give people low fat alternatives. I give people low sugar alternatives. I give people low sodium alternatives, right? So yeah, it's not going to be authentic. It's not going to be a piece of chicharrón,
Right.
from Calle in Guabate or whatever. There is a time and a place for that. We're not going to eat chicharrón every day. We're not going to
That's
eat
right. Yeah.
mofongo every day. It's a once in a
Yeah, for
while
sure.
treat, but if you want to have it more often, like you know what I mean, like I would want to have it more often, then I go ahead and boil my plantains. And it took me a while to definitely overcome that for sure.
Yeah, it's really difficult. I think, people that are online and once you make yourself public, people feel like people can say whatever they want to you. And I think it's, to me, it's kind of cowardly because that same person probably wouldn't tell you to your face, right? And I think there is some constructive criticism in what people say to us, right? It makes us aware. But
Hmm.
when they're bullying you or when they're just being haters, it's just not necessary, right? And so what it does is when you're an entrepreneur, you're working hard, you're just like leaned all in, right? You probably like remortgaged your house to get this business running, right? And people don't realize all the work that it takes to keep a business afloat. Like you have these spices that are shipping out, you have this, these books on the shelf, you're collaborating with all these people. It's a lot of work to keep that business moving.
Hmm.
Those comments, if you paid attention to them, are really damaging, right? And
Yeah.
I wish people would be a little bit more, I guess, smart about what they say, because I think it's really easy to sit behind a computer and bully people and tell them whatever you feel, right? And
Right.
so when you don't know someone personally, I personally don't think you have the right.
Hmm.
And some people are able to ignore it. Some
Yeah.
people don't even read their comments. I've talked to business owners who are like, I have no idea what's going on out there. I'm doing my business,
Yeah.
and I might have, 5,000 comments, but I am not reading them, because for every
Hmm.
positive, comment, there's a negative comment, and it's just
Yeah.
not worth my mental health, which is too bad, because I think they miss out on all the praise that they get as well about whatever their business is. So that's too
Yeah.
bad.
Yeah.
It
No,
is too bad.
I agree, because for me, my business is more about community than it
Mm,
is about going
the
viral
product.
or making money or how
Yeah.
many followers I have. If I wanted to, I already know the formula to go viral. I already know what I need to do if I wanted more followers. But the reason I keep it simple is because of community. Because
Yeah.
I prefer being able to manage it, to engage, to actually talk to people and have conversations in the comments. And if I do run into a troll, you know what I mean? Like, okay, you can move it along. You're not welcome here. Like I typically I kill them with kindness, and sometimes
Yes.
I'm so nice that they go ahead and apologize. So I don't know.
You are naturally very nice, Mayra. So if they took the time to know you, that's probably why,
Yeah. So, and would I want to go viral and sell more? Absolutely. But there's a time and a place. And, I'm just going with the ride and enjoying it. So
Yeah,
I'm
good for you.
okay.
What a great attitude about it, right? I'm similar. It's not about, as having more people, it's about reaching people. My favorite thing that happens is when somebody writes me, privately, and says, I really love that recipe, or thank you for that tip, or I'm going to try this thing because it makes me realize that I am making an impact. Sometimes
Hmm.
you post things out there as a business owner and you get, a bunch of likes and comments, and sometimes you get zero. It's like crickets, right? So you feel like, is my work even worth it? What I've learned
Yeah.
is that I'll bump into somebody at the store that tells me something about my page, or something that I've done for them, a workshop that they attended, or something that never said anything previously, or
Yeah.
maybe never even liked the comment, or said anything, right? At the moment, but just them telling me is rewarding enough. I'm like, wow, I'm making an impact. Like, somebody was happy. I was just talking to somebody
Yeah.
about this. I was doing coachings last week, and this gentleman sent me a really nice message on LinkedIn about the impact that I made, and he didn't know what to expect. That
Mhm.
to me, like, that warms my heart. That's why I do it, right? It's not for
Yeah.
the likes and the public's opinion. It's really for in making sure that I'm helping the people that need the help, and that want to, like, connect with
Yes.
us, right? That they're interested in learning more about what we have to offer. So that's
Oh,
awesome.
100%. I agree. Yeah, that's exactly. And on the bad days, I keep reminding myself of that.
Yeah.
I'll
So you have
remind myself of those people.
Yes. So you have had quite the journey so far, but when you think about your overall journey, what's one of the best decisions that you've made for your own health journey? Something that you've
Mhm.
changed?
For my own health journey, there has been a lot, but I think the biggest one was there was a couple of things, but I think it's just following my own gut intuition, being just more mindful,
Mm,
stop comparing myself to other people. It was really that awareness and focusing deep inside and I guess just ignoring the noise around me,
mhm,
because I used to take everything super personal, you know what I mean? I used to like feel so self-conscious of myself and my body. Even at my skinniest, I was always like hiding my body and just like so embarrassed because I felt like I needed to look a certain way or look skinnier or whatnot. And, people make comments, right? People make tons of comments about stuff that they shouldn't be making comments about. And it really takes a toll. So it wasn't
mm,
until I started defending myself. And I remember that, especially with family, right? They're brutal sometimes.
yes.
And they don't mess with me anymore. They don't make comments about my weight anymore. They just don't. Because yeah, I used to be an easy target, and now that I know who I am, I know what I'm doing, I know my own health journey, and I just stand up for myself. That's it. Like they just have to
Yeah,
leave
and
me
they
alone.
can't be blinded to your success either. I mean, if
Yeah.
you go on your page, or you see you have a lot of followers and a lot of people that do love you, and you're doing some great things. So I
Yeah.
think family and close friends are the worst for me anyway, in my experience, because I think when you go into these journeys of either being an entrepreneur or starting a new whatever it is, whatever that you do, you
Hmm.
expect them to be there cheering you on, and it's not always the way. I've
Yeah.
gotten more support from strangers than I have the people that, love me or around me. And at first it hurt, but luckily for me, I have some strong other businesswomen by my side that are going through the same thing, and we realize that it's just what it is, unfortunately.
Yeah.
And so you really relish and cherish those comments that are coming from strangers, like I said, through LinkedIn or through
Yeah.
Facebook or Instagram, when they write me something private, or when I meet somebody, like I said in the store, I bumped into people that are like, oh, I saw this and I love this thing, I learned this from you. And I'm like, you never said anything, you never commented, you didn't even like the
Yeah.
series, so how would I know that? But it is what it is. That's how people are when it comes to social media.
Hmm.
But I really do love that you figured out that for your own health journey, your mindset had to shift in
Hmm.
order for you to be happy, successful, and be able to move on. And so,
Yes.
yeah, it's so important, right, that you get to that space, because a lot of people quit
Yeah.
because of that noise, because they just
Yeah.
feel bad. They feel like, I'm not worth it. Look what's being said about me. I'm embarrassed. My own family and friends don't believe in me. They're not cheering me on. It's very easy to throw in the towel. But good for
Yeah.
you for continuing now. Look how long you've been doing this, and you continue to grow and do new things.
Yeah.
That's great.
Right. Yeah. And now they're super, you know what I mean? They're super proud and all of that. But you have to prove them wrong in a way.
Yeah,
So, but yeah, to get over it first, it's tough, but it's doable.
of course. Of course. Myra, what's a topic that maybe I didn't ask you about, or something I may have missed that you'd like to discuss today?
Ah, I'm not sure.
Well, I do have a very specific question. I know they
Okay.
have a new initiative coming. Talk to
Yes.
us about your new VIP coaching membership.
Yes. So because I am a coach at heart, much more than an entrepreneur selling products online, I'm starting the Healthy Rican VIP, and it's going to be for the ladies in my community that want to take
Mm,
their journey to the next level. It's going to be a supportive membership where we're all going to be together in a group, not outside of Facebook, so that way they don't have to have Facebook. Um, where we're going to be able to chat privately and have monthly group
mm,
conversations. They're going to be I mean, the first thought was to have them be taste testers. So whenever I'm testing either a new product or a new recipe, we're gonna focus on all those things together. So that's why they're VIP. So it's much more than just coaching. It's also going to be VIP. You're going to be my insiders. You're going to know when I have new products and recipes to develop. But I also want to focus a lot on meal planning because I know that
mm.
for me, like if I don't meal plan, I don't have to prep necessarily, but I need to have a plan. And if I don't have a plan, I'm just gonna eat whatever. I'm just gonna grab whatever. It's very quick and easy. When you're coming in with a plan, it's just so much easier to stay on track with your goals, whatever that is. It could be weight loss. I'm not gonna put judgment on that. But it could be something else. You might want to be just mindful of what you eat and eat healthier and eat more vegetables, and unless you have a plan, it's going to be very hard. So that's going to be like the main focus of the group.
Yeah, oh, that's so amazing, because I feel like a lot of health coaches focus on coaching, which is fantastic. Some individuals need that individual attention, but there are a lot of people that sort of know what they have to do, but they get overwhelmed with meal planning. I know a big piece for the clients that I've coached is meal planning, because they feel overwhelmed. Part of it is because if you go and look for meal planning, people make it look like this difficult, elaborate thing, right? So I remember I've meal planned for in the past, and I remember being overwhelmed by, like, oh God, I got to make all this stuff and I got to eat the same thing for 5 days and all these things through your mind, right? But if you're sharing recipes and really just helping them come up with their own plan,
Mhm.
that's the way to go, right? And a lot of people need those baby steps. They need a community to share a recipe, or to say, like for me, I don't
Yeah.
meal plan, 5 or 6 days worth of food, but I do plan ahead my menu for the week. I have my proteins and my vegetables and my eggs and stuff purchased, right? And then what meal planning looks like for me, right, is really like boiling some eggs, making some overnight oats, maybe You know, making some roasted veggies or chopping up some salad and making some proteins and mixing and
Yeah.
matching, you know, having that available so that I know that I'm going to be eating healthy because it's there for me. But it doesn't have to be this perfect cookie cutter, you know, plan for
Right.
everyone because we're all different, right? And I
Right.
always feel like by the second or third day, I'm not going to want to eat that. And if it's sitting in
Yeah.
the fridge for a few days, I probably don't want to eat it either. But if people feel comfortable with shortcuts, recipes, things that they enjoy, right?
Right.
They're going to be much more successful. And having community is a huge part of it because I feel like
Yeah.
even when you're in school, you learn more sometimes from your peers than even the teachers, the facilitators, right? Because you're having conversations and everybody has knowledge that they're imposing on each other. So that's a big piece of
Mhm.
it. So I love the community aspect of this VIP coaching
Yeah.
membership that you have going on. That
Yeah.
sounds quite
No,
awesome.
100%. Yeah. And because the thing is with me with meal planning, like I do better when I make my own plan, which that's part of what I'm going to be teaching. I will provide like also meal plans that are already kind of set in stone, but my
Sure.
big focus is to try to make them easy, right? Like where you can repurpose the same food and okay, yesterday we ate it like this, today we're gonna turn it into this, so that way you can cook one big batch of something and turn it into different meals. And I think that's where people get all caught up where like, oh man, I need to cook every day.
Right. And you know, that's a big impact financially. I do financial
Yeah.
coaching on the side as well. And I think that people with the grocery bills these days, they're overwhelmed. If they go to someone who's telling them buy organic green apples and buy, what do you call it? Like high quality beef or whatever. And they're like, ding, 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 like in their head, they're like, I can't afford that. Right. But if you
Yeah.
can repurpose foods or make different recipes that you freeze certain things you could have next week, you're really
Hmm.
helping them from a financial aspect as well, right? To
Right.
stretch their meals, if you will, so they're not having to worry about that every day.
Right.
Yeah,
100%.
awesome. Mayra, where can people find you if they're interested in connecting, either to buy your products or your book, or just learn more
Hmm.
about you? Where can they find you?
I think healthyrican.com is the best place because that's where like
Okay.
almost everything is. We have our social media linked to it, but that's where the products are. The community too is in there. So yeah, there's a little bit of everything in at healthyrican.com or on social media, wherever you can just put at Healthy Rican and we should pop up, even on Google.
Even on Google, that's awesome. Yeah, you have Google reviews. You have I know
Yeah.
I follow you on Instagram. I love to watch your Tasty Thursdays. Seeing what you're coming up with and who you're collaborating with. So really, really good stuff. Mayra, it's been great to have you again. Thank you for sharing not only your health coaching journey, your personal journey, and also where you're going next. You're doing great things. You should be proud of yourself.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Have a good one. And for everybody that's watching on YouTube, we will have the Healthy Rican information in the show notes. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.